Roll call, please.
Carroll.
Here.
Manning. Cosgrove.
Here.
Severson.
Present.
Williamson.
Here.
Cooley.
Here.
McGuire. Yielkorn.
All right, verification of open meetings law compliant.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the meeting is properly in order.
All right, motion to approve a 17-point agenda. Chad was a motion.
Second.
Second by Kerry. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, minutes from February 12th. If there isn't any changes, I'll approve as presented.
What guys changes?
All right, public comment. Any public comment today? Okay, so report. Property management report.
Okay, I got just a few things to talk about, update. Concrete pad for the AC out here. They're planning on pouring next week for the new AC units, end of next week. That's the plan anyway, for doing the, whatchamacallit, for all the utilities. Diggers hotline's already been notified, so that'll be done by Tuesday next week. Then you can start on Thursday. So that'll be in process. They're pouring concrete at the shed out behind Simon's. They're pouring half of that tomorrow. It's already, we've been out there cleaning. We got rid of all the 70 years of props. Has all been burned up into ashes now. So that's all gone. That was done we did that last week, emptied that shed. So we'll have a place we'll build a wall out there for the half of it. We'll have that for shop, storage stuff, all the stuff from the campus shop, the gym shop, or whatever. All that stuff will get moved up there, and anything else we need for our maintenance stuff. The generator that we have downstairs, replaced the radiator in it. I found one clear out in the state of Oregon, a brand new one, $2,100. Our generator company decided that they didn't want to touch it. They said they wouldn't do anything with it. So I did some research and I found one out in Oregon and they shipped it and it was within an inch of being fitting exact. We did it in 2.5 hours. So we're only down for the 2.5 for the generator for the building. That's all done and taken care of. So no more leaks there. So that'll get us through to hopefully January when we get that PSAP grant for a new generator for the building. So that's taken care of. Still doing a lot of furniture moves from campus to all the buildings. We're still moving stuff from there to here and here to there. And the UW extension move is finally done. I think we're done. We've got everything. They've got them all moved and they're sitting in their new spot across the street. So that's been taken care of. Ash Creek upper driveway. I sent some pictures to Josh yesterday. I drove out there yesterday. That upper parking area for the horses and stuff is gone. That parking lot is not accessible at all. There's a 3-foot trench right down through the middle of it, plus spider webs of another 1.5 feet. There's nothing left. All that gravel is gone up there. That parking lot's disappeared, so nobody's getting in up there. Don't know what we're gonna do there. Josh and I are gonna go out and take a look at it, see if there's anything we can do to
mitigate some of that
water direction up there.
Right now, the way it's designed, that parking lot basically catches all the water coming down the road and it washes directly down through the parking lot. So we'll have to see what we can do with it as far as, ditching, culvert, whatever have you. We'll have to add a bunch more material in there. It's not the first time this has happened. Last
summer.
Yeah, end of last summer, middle of summer, it washed out pretty good. We did send a crew up there and fixed it once already, but we knew it was gonna happen again because of the way the water was flowing. So we'll go out there in person, take a look and try to put a decent estimate together of what it's gonna take to make that parking lot usable and maintainable.
So isn't the worst seal going then?
So the one idea I had without looking at it is I know there's some pretty good piles of recycle asphalt And what I recommend, if we can't afford to do a culvert and proper ditching, is to go in there and put a bunch of recycled blacktop in there. And then, talk to like Barner or somebody that may have some extra tack, and then come in and spray the surface of it, and I will tack everything down, kind of hold it, you know, kind of like a blacktop surface, but it should hold a lot better. Recycle packs in there well. That might be one option as like a last resort.
If you've been up there when it was put in.
I remember being up there, but of course it was dry and it was okay then. You don't see it until you gotta look at it now. Right?
Yeah, the water on that west side of that road comes right on that corner.
Yep, right down through the
No two.
main part of it.
Yeah.
So, so that's in the works. We're gonna have to look at that. The bike trail, we had some complaints about ruts and stuff down on Henpeck, down below Randy Schmidt's farm. They're down in there bulldozing, removing trees and stuff on both sides of the trail. So they've crossed the trail, but somebody has driven up the trail with a pickup in the wet. So there's ruts all the way up through, but it happens to be right where he's bulldozing. So I think you got contacted first.
I got contacted first.
Yeah.
I contacted Randy and had sent him and Brian down there to take a look.
So we went down and looked at it. Bulldozers were down there working. Yes, they had crossed the trail, but that is not what made the ruts. Somebody's been in there with a pickup. So I contacted Randy. He said that he had his guys down in there. He would go down in and smooth out that area that's damaged, since it's right there by the driveway, the road that comes in. He had no problem with it, and I wasn't accusing him of it. I was just asking him if it was possibly one of his guys. And he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know if one of the guys drove up through. He said, there is a lot of road traffic. There's a lot of people that come down in there and park and get out and walk up and down the trail. But he said they may have tried driving too, so.
I do know the DNR had been in there at one point too, because they were gonna do some burning down that way, so they might have been looking at it and just hadn't got back to clean anything up yet by the time we got the report.
So he was more than helpful. He said he'd clean it up temporarily, and so, and then we're gonna go back and look at it again and see what it needs after that, so.
And of course, the request came through for additional material to be added from Henpeck going towards Gotham. We limited it out with what we could do out of the grant last time, so again, it's a funding thing.
And then the last thing I have on is we're gonna try to hit the trails sometime middle of next week. We're gonna try to get up and hit all the trails, get all the trees and stuff. They've got something that, I think Mike's got a thing going in May for, trails up behind the campus. We moved some trees last week, but there's still a few others that need to be cleaned up, and so we're gonna go up and clean the rest of them up, and then we'll have to go to Ash Creek and hit all those trails too and see what's down up there too, so.
Most of the trails are drivable, but where a lot of the trees are gonna be found is gonna be on the horse trails. And there is no getting any piece of equipment up there, so if you gotta go clear trees, you're pumping a chainsaw all the way up there to do it, so.
So that's our plan for someday next week, and on that, we're fit in.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. Is there any opportunity out at the county forest for volunteers to do part of that?
I mean, there would be opportunity if volunteers would step forward, or there is some kind of like a Friends of the Parks, Friends of Ash Creek or something, but currently there's no group like that, so if there was volunteers, they'd have to just step forward and ask.
Well, the first thing is to know that the need is there and that it's okay to volunteer.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, Steve, isn't that, would that be under your website at the park, or is that? Natural Resources still kind of covers that?
You know what? Technically, yes, but I got to tell you, they don't do anything. We have not done anything about it, and it's a weak point we need to work on.
Yeah, and that's when I talked about bike trail from there to Richland Center, that she said the first thing you want to do, the lady that wrote the grants there for Boscoville, is to try and get a friends group started. Then you can have a 501(c) and got to funnel that money somewhere. I don't think it can come to Richland County.
I did talk with Cindy Chicker about that, because she was on the Parks Committee, and we had emailed back and forth about the Parks Committee being eliminated, and I did say that they could certainly consider starting that. And she sounded like she was interested, but I haven't heard anything recently.
All right.
I
Anything
got a
else?
question, I guess.
Go ahead.
What is our legal responsibility with that bike trail? Like, do we own any land? What legal say do we have in what happens to that property?
Well, some of that falls with the railroad company because they still have the right to come back in and take it over. So there is a right of way out there. It kind of defaults to the railroad company to have first say, and then it would fall to the county past that. Mike had talked about doing something maybe with the state. Like, what were you talking about? Like trying to absorb that?
If you're interested in becoming a state trail,
Yeah.
but that would still require county maintenance. State doesn't do maintenance on trails, but it would just be for. So if there was a tree on that trail that was within our right of way, what, we got 30 feet or 60?
60 sounds right.
So within that 60 feet, if there was a tree there, would we have the right to cut it down?
Yeah.
So then why can somebody else cut that down? We don't say nothing about that.
Please rephrase, or please repeat that.
Like at Henpeck, all the trees were removed out of there. Obviously, there were some trees that were within our right of way. And they were removed. Did we give permission to have those trees removed? Or
Some of that is different of who owns that land, and how far it butts up in, towards that right of way.
that was
It's not
all
like
the
a-
railroad bed.
But it's not a legal right of way, like enforceable like a road right of way. It is different because of the landowners that do butt up to that.
Well, that would be every landowner along that would own to a center line then of that trail. Then how does that work with the county highway then? That's.
Like, the landowner can do whatever they want, basically, as long as they contact the highway department to say it's okay, and some people just clear the trees, but difference is when we need to do something, we don't need permission if it's in the road right away.
So the landowner didn't need permission to cut the trees that were on the bike trail?
They wouldn't know, as long as it's on their taxable land, they can go clear those trees. They're gonna
So
tax for
what-
that.
Why do we put money then in towards that bike trail then if we don't have any say?
I don't know.
You don't know? I don't either. I'm just asking.
I just took over the responsibility, and apparently it was expected of the county to maintain that trail.
Does it have something to do with the way it was granted and converted from the railroad to that trail? Because there was, what, $300,000 or something that was brought in, because that's when they wanted to put four-wheelers to go up and down.
Yeah, we were gonna have to pay
And then
that.
you're gonna have to pay back the money. that was
$200,000
given.
at the time from Ice-T money.
So I would assume it's like anything, when you convert it over and you take it from the railroad to become a bike trail, well, now the county absorbs the cost to
And
maintain.
responsibility.
I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like there were some trees that were on our 60 feet that we have and that they were cut down.
Hey, I just want to know if there's a volunteer opportunity. Maybe we just put this on as a future agenda item and move on now.
And that's fine, we can put it on as a future agenda item. The question, we still have some stuff, but I would agree, if it's the landowner owns on both sides of that and it just runs through the center, they should have the right to take down whatever they want to take down.
Then I feel that they should maintain that trail then too, if they own that.
Well, they do, because the tax dollars that they pay, we use to go maintain that road, right?
Trail.
Or, yeah, trail, whatever you wanna call it, but they do. It just comes from a different bucket, right? So when they pay their property tax, then it comes back through, and then we take the money and we go down and fix it.
Still think there's an issue there.
There could be, but I don't know what it is. I guess we'd have to do more digging into it and see if there's.
You'd have to have probably an attorney look into the original agreement when it got changed over from the railroad and handed over to the county with that agreement that's in place.
I mean, like, so my family owns land that's along the bike trail and some of it's blacktop. Could I just go in there and tear up the blacktop and say that I own it?
I don't
Future
know.
agenda item, guys. Let's work this after some information is dug up.
Sounds good. All right,
All right, that's all I have for my items tonight, Mr. Chair.
Josh?
Okay. So we're coming out of the winter months and we know we dealt with some pretty bad snowstorms towards the end of it. And then we got that warm weather back to cold weather. We had a pretty good storm that rolled through that dropped a massive amounts of rain. So we had flooding, but nothing that created any kind of significant problems. Just the main one being the big washout along Highway 80 right at Rockridge. And that's pretty normal. It's not a paved spillway. They will address that when the state comes in to do Highway 80, 3-4 years from now. They'll actually try to raise that elevation, improve drainage, and then eventually pave it. But for right now, just normal washout. We'll put gravel, some blacktop back in, and it'll be good as new. So pretty minor things there. One thing we're working on too, after recent car accidents, so on and so forth, I think it's time to maybe look at the idea of putting cameras in the trucks. Ones that forward facing to just monitor what the truck's doing. And that way when a car accident or something happens, we have video evidence to say who was actually at fault, if it was on the county or the person that claimed it. The camera system that we're looking at is through a company called Samsara. They're a company that's been getting around to all the counties and promoting their product. A lot of counties are going to them. So what we're looking at doing is a forward-facing camera and a side-facing camera that'll basically cover where what the wing of the truck is doing plowing snow, and then what they're doing driving down the road. And with that kind of technology, it's GPS, so it tracks where the truck goes, it tracks its miles per hour. It actually sends live data from the truck, so if a code or something pops up on the truck, we can look at it back from the shop. The reason I'm bringing this up, because I want to feel the county's appetite of adding this kind of a cost onto the highway department as a normal thing. It's added security. I have checked. There's no discounts from our insurance company, but it's something that probably should be happening, especially with the world we live in. And to do this, it would be an annual fee of $22,400 to put a camera system in each truck that'll monitor what they're doing. So I guess before I continue on with the rest of the activities, I was kind of gauging what your guys' thoughts are on a system like that or doing something along those lines.
So that's 22,000, that's the cost, but it's every year the same cost.
Yep.
So what's the startup of it? So when they put the cameras in and all that, is there we pay 200,000 and then we pay 222,000 a year, or what's the deal?
No, it's 22,400. You're not actually paying for the equipment, you're paying for the licensing with it. So like a cost breakdown, license for the side cameras at $108 a piece, that's 2,700. The license for the vehicle gateways, that's the GPS system, so on and so forth, that's 5,700. Licensing for the forward-facing camera at $360 a piece, that's $9,000. Live streaming, so we can go back and get the video evidence. They're throwing that in for free. And then the license for the HD camera connector, $5,000. So that's what the 22,000 comes in at. So that's actually the price you pay for the initial setup, and that's the same price you're going to pay every year.
Every year?
Yep.
How many years do you have to sign up for?
So this one would be it looks like it's a 3-year term on it, and then you just renew the contract.
So then every 3 years they get raised.
Yep.
Which most likely will happen.
Now, some of the kickback you get is obviously some of the patrolman operators feel, oh, it's a violation of my privacy. You're videotaping me. Well, no, we're not. The cameras are facing forward. We don't have audio on there. They're just to record what the vehicle is doing and then what traffic is doing around the vehicle. So that way, if they're running a stop sign or they're going too fast or somebody cuts them off in traffic and they were running, at least there's video evidence to back that up.
So, yeah, so with that, what is the temperature of the patrolman?
I am right now, I'm probably at a 50-50. I have guys begging me to put cameras in the truck with what some of the traffic's almost cost for accidents. I have other guys that kind of feel like, oh, this is a violation of my privacy. But they're in a county-owned vehicle. They know they forfeit some of that right when they drive for us.
Do we want to look into a cheaper way to possibly do this?
This is probably about the cheapest as you're going to get, because the other system that's currently in place that all the highway departments ran on was through Force America, but through Precise. And they had the market cornered, and it was through recent legislative change that Samsara was able to start getting in. And so far they've been beating everybody on their price of why all the other municipalities around us are going to that system.
So who currently uses it?
Vernon County's going to it. Crawford County's looking into it, Sauk is currently using it, and then a whole array of counties up north.
Any questions, comments? That's a good idea.
How many trucks?
19, or I think, actually I expect 25, because the administrative vehicles plus the active plow trucks will have them in it.
Yeah, one lawsuit, yeah. One lawsuit avoided, yeah. I still would have, I think Steve's gonna ask too, or maybe, but at what point do we have, dollar amount we have to go out for RFP?
Oh, that's not for us until over 50,000.
That's what I thought.
We should consider all county vehicles then, at that point, if we're just doing highway, and what is the sheriff's department doing right now, because I know they have cameras in their vehicles.
Yeah, and I don't know where they are. I mean, I'm not against putting cameras in all the vehicles. That's not a concern.
Yeah.
We're
What,
doing
what,
this,
what-
spend a large sum of money
what
to make-
system does the sheriff's department use?
I don't know what they do. Their system's probably gonna be different regardless because of their law enforcement, so it's probably more specialized.
I would guess that you're not gonna have the same in both.
No,
Still gotta be able to save data and everything that they have.
Well, this is standalone.
this is a standalone thing. It's actually through web-based, so we don't have to download any software
Where
through the county.
where theirs is on a database
Correct.
that we have to manage.
And it's
Right.
growing.
And it grows every year, you know, because they got body cams too now. So theirs is much different and I would guess there's different rules to theirs.
All right, never mind.
Into just the highway department, we should look into all vehicles, because we do run emergency vehicles also. And there's vehicles across the street that haul people, buses and all that stuff that we have advanced. So,
Valley is big.
you know, it's probably worthwhile to have this more of a bigger discussion.
I think we should definitely push it forward for probably finance personnel, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, dollar amount, it's fine here, but if you're talking like for a larger scheme across all departments that have cameras, you know, push it forward.
Well, then it, you know, so Josh has got room in his budget to probably make this work to some degree.
To some degree.
But the other ones might not have any room in their budget to make that work, so then it does become a county. We have to make.
It'd be a good question if you ask the person you're working with, if they can put them in our personnel bus, or what other vehicle were you talking, Carrie?
Well, right now, currently, at this moment in time, we have 3 ambulances or 2 ambulances,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But there's also stuff across the street, social workers have a vehicle, there's also the
EDRC.
ADRC bus or whatever that.
Another, at the most 10 maybe.
And this company can put it in any vehicle you want it to put in, because it just plugs into the code reader port on there, and then it has backside plug, so it doesn't disrupt you being able to diagnose the vehicle. But
You have his vehicle too,
Let's,
courthouse vehicle.
yeah, we should get more information on this, and plus we should talk with Clay and then just to make sure,
right.
whatever.
Okay.
Just so everybody's on the same page, so let's probably push this to finance and see what we can get there, and then it can go from there.
And if you guys would like, you're gonna push it to finance, I can reach out to that company and they can actually do a presentation and talk about the prices and what it means and what it entails. Would that help?
Let's start with, let's get everybody in where we wanna go, and then we can go from
Okay.
there. I would say yes.
Okay, so that was that piece of the subject. So then with financial activities, we're gonna kind of jump forward past monthly and we're gonna talk about the big picture of highway. Because last year, just before budget, leading all the way through budget, you guys heard me go on and on and on about we're broke. So, and we did not schedule any road projects for this year because of the county road old project, but also because we've taken such hit in our funding over the years with the wage increases we've covered in-house. And then obviously with all the other projects, so like this year, yeah, there's no projects. We're just gonna be playing catch up for a while. We're still carrying over that negative balance for the bridge that we built over at the campus. But then looking forward, we took a look at what road projects that we have identified funding for through LRIP. And there's several of them. Derek, would you bring up the tab for the CTH budget, county highway budget, because that'll show it on there. And then zoom in. So County Road 00, County Road N, and County Road F. Those are the ones that I have identified funding for from the state of Wisconsin as part of the cost share. So we took a look at the major ones because there is a sunset timeline on these projects, which means we have to have those projects done by like the end of 29, June of 29, otherwise we lose that money. So in order to do this, next year, we have to put a couple of them onto the table to start knocking them out. And with our room that we have in the budget, we need extra money to put towards road projects. So right now, without doing something to start doing, like capital improvement borrowing or an increase to tax levy, we're done doing road projects and we're just filling potholes and mowing some grass. So what do we put on for CIP is County Road 00 and County Road N. And with those totaling, we're going to need an additional $1.7 million of CIP money to cover those costs of those projects. Derek, if you go back to the highway budget tab, you can actually see it underneath the recommended budget column, all the way at the bottom. If you can zoom, yeah, right there. 1.7, that's what I would need in addition to our tax levy in order to make that work, which would be short-term borrowing, and that would still leave like 50,000 if you did a incremental increase to the actual levy, since we haven't seen one of those in 20 years. Big picture on this, big takeaway is unless we do something, we're done doing road projects. I can't afford them. We'll have to turn that money back over to the state. And then a lot of like our state aid, the GTA, that'll start going down. We're going to see a big drop on that. So if we don't spend the money, we're going to end up losing more and more money, and we're going to be doing less and less. Right now, we're on a 57-year rotation for highway projects. If we don't do something next year, we're going to fall way behind. And then you're going to ask, how do I determine the road projects? They're going to have you jump again back to the CTH budget. So then what I look at every year is our current expenditures and what I have to provide, what the state mandates I have to provide for brush and spray control, mowing, county road construction, county maintenance, signs of trash, blah, blah, blah. We look at our numbers that we currently spent as of the month of June, and then we do an estimate to the end of the year, which is usually a ×2 case scenario. And then we build in the road projects, and then it spits out like how much money extra we're going to need, because that 1,663, 500 ain't cutting it. And that's how I formulate what I'm going to need for additional road projects. Then the road projects I pick from are road projects that have a low road rating on them, or the ones that get the squeaky wheel gets a grease, where the general public is screaming to get this road redone. That's how I kind of go about picking it. That's a big picture item. But again, I'm going to say it's on blue in the face, unfortunately, that we're sunk unless we start getting more money. I mean, the county is kind of at that, the supervisors are at that point where they have to look at what is state mandated to provide versus what's just not going to get done anymore. Mr. Chair.
So, knowing, and we knew this was gonna happen, I mean, it isn't anything new. This isn't nothing we have.
Prior, 2 years ago, we were in the spot where we were deciding that, and then we decided to invest more in it so we can increase our GTA.
Exactly.
So if you look back maybe 5, even 6 years ago, we were at probably where we're at now, considering that, where we weren't even doing that. But we chose, the committee at the time, or the commission at the time, they said, hey, let's increase this so we can get our GTA money back. So ultimately, we've already been in this scenario before, and we were there. This is nothing, I shouldn't say new, it's an issue,
Yeah.
but we were there.
Yeah, and I agree with that. What it comes down to is what are we willing to do as a county board? That's what it's gonna come down to, because if you look back at the first administrator had a projections for all them years. And if you go look at them projections, they're not wrong. They made, the number moved a little bit, but it wasn't wrong. The borrowing for, the CPU borrowing, or the capital improvement borrowing, was going to increase every year. And it's right there. All you gotta do is go back and look at it. The thing of it is as a county board, we gotta decide if we're gonna do this or we're not. Now, we can bring it to the county board. I had no problem bringing it to the county board. This is where we're at. What are we willing to do? Right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And the good thing is okay, so you got $2 million there over what, 4 years?
Correct.
So if you go $500,000 a year, or you go, you know what I mean? You can make this stuff work, but we gotta decide, that's not, this group can present it. County board's gonna have to decide on it, so.
Yep, and you know, the 500,000 that we were borrowing, that's just buying you one truck and then some miscellaneous equipment
Exactly.
anymore. That's gotta be included no matter what, otherwise we fall behind on the equipment.
It's definitely above and beyond what's currently there. And that's, but we knew this going forward. Everybody knew this in the 8 years I've been on this board, we've known it ever since I started, that this is where it was gonna go, and it's gonna continue to go that way unless we decide to do something with it. And I don't think everybody's looking to go back to gravel roads and live with that, so.
But I would like to say a compliment in one piece. When you guys decided to try to invest that extra money, Derek, would you go back to the highway budget page? And then zoom in a little bit, and then I want you to look at the state aid county trunk highway system, the GTA. And then scroll back to the right a little bit, slide it over. I mean, you can see that because of those significant investments that we made in the last 5-6 years, we've raised our GTA by almost, what, 100,000, Derek? We were only at like 500 something,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
a full year ago. So we did what we were supposed to do. We invested the money, we raised our GTA. But in order to keep that on the increase and keep it going, we have to invest yet more money on the backside of it. Otherwise, we lose that GTA.
Agreed. And I mean, you gotta spend the money to get the money, that's the only, and if they see you're putting money into it, they're gonna get it. But if you go 3-4 years and don't put anything in, it's all gonna go away. I mean, you see it at township level, you see it at every level. If you don't spend the money and you don't continue to increase that, it's gonna get less, because they're gonna say, well, you're not using this, no, something else.
So at the end of it, I'm asking, and I'll say it, begging for this committee's support when you take it to county board to make sure that kind of stuff happens so we can invest what we're supposed to be investing in.
I think the main thing is to show the plan and explain where we're at. And the support, I don't think this committee had a problem supporting it, because was the plan we went with right from the start. So it's just a matter of, the cost is still coming, there isn't any more coming in from the state. It's our end and shoulder, you know. I mean, there's been different things have been done, right? So the wheel tax was put in place, all that stuff has been put in place since I've been on this. Yeah, it's just a matter of, we just need to show the picture of what it is.
Yep. Which is what these documents are for. It can show the picture. So that's all I had for the departmental activities, Mr. Chair.
All right, gotcha. Appreciate it. Radio tower project, I would assume.
Yeah, it's going very well. We have the conditional acceptance of the system. We are using it as now in our name and not GenCom's name. We're working on removing stuff from the WCO tower and ended that lease. Finish is going back and double checking everything, and they're kind of going through their checklist to make sure everything is done the way it's supposed to be done, and then we'll do the final testing in August.
Okay.
Working with the fire departments to get all their radios reprogrammed. EMS, emergency management.
Question, are we still under budget?
Yes. Yes, we are.
How much actual work is left that's gonna pull from that budget?
As far as money, we'll have to make our final payment to GenCom, and then we'll have to pay all of the fire departments. We haven't reimbursed any of them for their expenses yet. Those should be the biggest ones. Right now, Mike Day, John Cooey, and Tammy Newberry are working on making sure all our numbers are good. I can bring a budget probably next week to executive and finance, as long as those three have connected, and let you know where things are at.
Either that or county board, it'd be good for the county board to see what
Okay.
that's. So,
Have we added the tower technician to our MIS yet?
Yes, we have. He's been here about a month now. Jeremy Bork is his name.
all right, anything else?
No.
All right, moving on. Discussion possible action on courthouse lawn use request.
So we had a request from the Ministerial Association to use the courthouse lawn for National Day of Prayer on May 7th. Just need this committee's approval.
I'll ask for a motion.
For approval.
By Carrie, Chad, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I,
Any discussion? We do this every year, I think, so it's pretty standard. All right, discussion possible action on tobacco-free parks ordinance.
Okay, so before we look at the actual ordinance itself, we've been asked to read out loud, a speech, I guess, if you will, from the Youth for Change. They couldn't be with us tonight, so they have a document here, so, story time. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share this message on behalf of the Youth for Change. While our members are unable to attend tonight due to school activities, work, and sports commitments like baseball and track, we sincerely appreciate the opportunity to have our voices included in this important conversation. Youth for Change is a group of local Richland Center High School students focused on making our community healthier and safer for young people and families. We are here to respectfully ask you to consider adopting a tobacco-free parks ordinance for Richland County. In December 2025, the County Parks Board unanimously approved moving this ordinance forward to the Public Works Committee, and if supported, onto the County Board later this month. Parks are spaces where families gather, where children play, and where youth spend a great deal of time. When smoking or vaping occurs in these environments, it not only exposes others to secondhand smoke and aerosol, but it also sends a message to younger children that tobacco is normal and acceptable. Through the community survey conducted by the local coalition Partners for Prevention with 299 respondents, we found approximately 75% support tobacco-free parks. 73% believe secondhand smoke and aerosol are harmful. 38% have avoided parks because of tobacco use. Nearly half report seeing tobacco use in parks at least sometimes. These results demonstrate strong community support for creating healthier park environments. Partners for Prevention also connected with parks departments across Wisconsin communities that have adopted tobacco-free park policies consistently cite similar benefits: protecting youth from exposure and influence, reducing litter such as cigarette butts, promoting clean, healthy public spaces. Importantly, these communities report that such policies are largely self-enforcing with minimal issues once signage is in place. Here in Richland County, students began this work several years ago. After ongoing collaboration with community partners and local leaders, the city of Richland Center adopted a tobacco-free parks ordinance in 2025. Since then, the transition has been smooth with strong support from park staff and positive feedback from the community. From a youth perspective, tobacco use in parks is something we notice. We see it on trails, near shelters, and sometimes close to playgrounds. Younger children notice it too and often ask questions. While we are not here to judge anyone's personal choices, we believe parks should model healthy behaviors and remain welcoming, family-friendly spaces for everyone. With only about 16% of adults in Richland County using tobacco, establishing tobacco-free parks reflects the preferences and well-being of most of our community. Tonight, we respectfully ask you to consider a clear and consistent tobacco-free parks policy for all county parks, one that includes smoking, vaping, and smokeless tobacco. We also want you to know that the Youth for Change and Partners for Prevention are ready to help. This could include assisting with the design and cost of signage, supporting community education efforts, helping ensure information with public. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your continued commitment to improving the health and well-being of our community. We appreciate your consideration and would be happy to support this effort moving forward. So then, in the packet, there should be an ordinance drafted up by Corporation Council and reviewed, adopting a tobacco-free parks. Richland County Parks is in full support of this. We're all in full support. In your hands, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, let's get a motion on the floor. Chad? Steve, any discussion?
yeah, I have a couple of comments.
Go ahead, Steve.
I just wondered if we could get this statement put in our packet as well as the survey they talked about so that we can refer to it later.
Yep, we can get that done. Anything else? Carrie, got anything?
I believe, didn't the city of Richland Center just do this?
In 2025.
Yeah, last year. For all their parks within the city.
All right, so we got a motion, favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody opposed. Motion carries. So we'll take this to full county board, I suppose. All right. Discussion possible action on Richland County Fairgrounds livestock policy.
So this is something that the Fair Board has been working on. There was a couple of issues, or one significant issue last year where some people just came and dropped off some horses, did not have permission for it, and so the Fair Board has been working on a policy and have put together this policy so that we're able to handle those issues. So we wanted, they approved it and then just would like it approved here.
All right, see the policy. Can I get a motion to get this, Steve? Motion, I'll second. Discussion, any concerns?
I'm just wondering what we currently had before this.
Nothing. All we could find was some possible draft policies that somebody had worked on, but we could not find any policy that was currently in place.
My question is, will this cover poultry?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Should cover everything.
That is, avian flu.
Yeah, it does cover poultry. I looked through there. It covers all the livestock.
All right, well, sounds like it's been needed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion possible action on admission and grandstand pricing for the 2026 county fair.
So this is again something that the Fair Committee has been working on. If you'll recall, last year they went and had zero admission fees for the to get into the fair. It was found when the budget was done at the end of the year that that was not something that we could sustain long term. And this is the proposed gate fees and grandstand fees that the Fair Board are suggesting we implement for this year's fair.
That's for all, everybody.
Yes.
The biggest thing I get when I'm at the fair collecting money is senior citizens. And it's just quite, you know, 1 year it was $8. I think last time we did it was $8. It's not that bad. What's that? $5. I realize that, but the senior citizen is one that always brought up the point. And I think there's one day where senior citizens used to get in free.
Now how it's set up is on Thursday and Sunday would be free. We would only charge gate fees on Friday and Saturday. So there is the opportunity for people to go free if they need or want.
So there's a fee to get in the gate, and then there's another fee to get in the grandstand. Okay. Then pit fees are.
Remember when we did the $8 before or whatever, that was free admittance to the grandstand and pit area.
Yep.
So now we're separating out, making a lower cost to get in, and if you wanna go to the grandstand, it's one thing, if you wanna go to pits, it's gonna cost another.
Yeah, and so when you go to the pits, then when you come in and you come back in and go to the fair, that covers that?
Yes. It always has. I don't know what our current leadership thinks about that, but.
It's just a question, because of course I've been around the fair for a few years.
So, yeah, a lot of people would come from the pit to get something to eat and then go back.
I was afraid that last year wouldn't be sustainable. I guess we need a motion, right? Put this on board to discuss really.
I'll move to get it on the discussion point.
Chad, any discussion? Carrie, you got any input on this? Is it needed?
Or we needed to charge last year, but
Chose not to.
What are counties doing around us? Vernon, still,
They're all charging. Salt County charges for parking, that's
Parking.
about it. They're a lot larger fare.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, could we just see the numbers that the fair committee worked out, just to see how they came up with these numbers?
Yeah, what the fair committee did was we looked at, one of the things we looked at is what is an average year and what these costs would be, and does that fit into our budget? And that's how we looked at it. So we looked at what we have budgeted for grandstand fees, admission fees, and what the average attendance is, and this is how we came up with these numbers.
Gotcha. It's just, as long as it's a long enough time span, I think we're okay. It's just that some years, if there's weird weather, your numbers can really be deceptive.
And we may lose money on this. I mean, we might have 3 horrible days and we may end up losing money. You know, that's part of it is a crapshoot, but I think we also have to look at, and one of the things the fair board talks about is we don't run the fair to make money. We run the fair to provide a community engagement opportunity. And so it's trying to find that balance of not losing a whole bunch of money while also trying to have an opportunity for the community to attend.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right,
That was a good sum up of it. In my personal opinion is I still think that we're gonna be down. Even if we had excellent weather, we still will be down.
so you don't feel the fees enough?
I think it's fine because you look at the issue of a family of 4, family of 5's gotta come in and they have kids that are, 12 to 15. Let's say they're all paying $8 to get in or a little bit less than that for the student, but it's costing them quite a bit. And then for them to go out and then want to spend for the carnival ride and to get something to eat, it digs into their pockets a little bit, so. I think Tricia did say it well just a little bit ago when she talked to Steve that doing this for a community service to make it, but we still need to try to recoup some back, but knowing that we're gonna be able to be down a little bit. It's just-
well, the other thing.
We're providing a service, I guess.
The other thing, when Carrie and I, we went 2 years, 3 years ago, we went to Iowa County. A guy I know that was on the board, they were getting $50,000 in donations. It's something that we can't. Everybody around.
We haven't
We
figured out.
go out and we look for donations, but it's really hard to, because now we're competing with, let's say, Walk with Grace, is a really big thing in this town. Everybody hits it up, there's all these teams that are going, and then, look at all these little fundraisers that are happening, the Kiwanis Club, the fire department, all of them are all seeking donations from those same businesses, and how much can they give into that?
You'd be surprised.
Priority.
You'd be surprised if you ask. I would never discourage anyone from asking, because you'd be surprised. What's that?
It depends on what that entity wants to contribute to, what their passion is. So as an example, maybe there may be an agriculture business that wants to support the fair better than they want to support
That's my point.
eyeglasses.
I don't think we should not ask just because everybody else is asking.
And we do. That's just what we run into.
Yeah, understood. Okay, but, I mean, I thought 8 was a little expensive, but 5 I can live, actually.
And it's only for 2 days.
Yeah,
Sunday's really a crap.
Sunday's not much, and
It's not
Thursday's
much.
not much either, kids are still in school for the most part. But Thursday was always the day to get there and get going, so. All right. I guess we got a motion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, administrative fees charged by the highway department.
This is something that when the highway department does work for, let's say,
Parks, Randy.
Parks for Randy. And when they prepare the bill, they charge an administrative fee. I do think that that is something, if it's going from county to county department to county department, there shouldn't be the administrative fee. From my understanding, this was set up decades ago, potentially.
By the highway committee, we did research to see if there was ever a resolution done, but everything I can sort out from it is, it's something the highway committee must have done utilizing the cost accounting, uniform cost accounting that was you know, that we're mandated to use by the state. It enables us to enact an administrative fee, and we used it as something to try to regain some of the cost of the administrative work that goes with it. Trish brought this to me, we talked about it, and I couldn't agree more. Like, it doesn't make sense to charge an administrative fee, department to department, and it brought up the bigger question of, you know, if one department gets rid of their administrative fee, then all departments that are working together, doing work for one another, nobody should be charging administrative fee back and forth. So I'm willing to forego that, and I have no issue with it whatsoever, just to get rid of it across the departments. We'll still charge, we have to do the townships. I mean, they don't have to come to us for supplies and work and stuff. They choose to, so there is administrative fees. So any external force that comes in to do work with us, they still have administrative fees. But if it's interdepartmental within county of Richland government, then there's no fees.
All right. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
What's with the change of heart?
Simple conversation.
I mean, we've been having this conversation for years, and
Going in the right direction.
we never could do it. No, we gotta charge it. So, whatever, and then,
Well, I think it's a good thing. It
It's
hasn't
a good
made
thing.
any sense to me that if I'm working, it doesn't make any sense. It all comes out the same, it all comes out the same place, right? So I'm charging you to charge me, and then it doesn't make any sense. I think there's more that can be looked at like that, but this is a good start, in my opinion. So. I guess, anything else, Steve? Got anything?
Take it as a win, Seaver.
I know, it's just funny.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Okay, approve vendor to complete the engineering of the Simons Recreational Complex, ATEs.
So one of the things that was talked about earlier this year was to get in, when we have these bigger projects, to have a engineer come in and look at our facility and then give us a recommendation. So we did receive two. We are waiting on a third, so we're not going to be asking for a vote tonight. But I do want to, because this is the first time we're really doing this, bring it to this committee for your guys' review. As you can see, the two are very, very different. I just went to all three of them and said, we just need an engineer to come in and spec out a recommendation. And there was a very significant price difference between the two. If we didn't have a third one come in, our recommendation would be to go with Venture, but now we're just gonna wait on that third one and bring it back to the next meeting for you guys to review.
Okay. So no action needs to be taken on this item until further notice. All right, future agenda items.
Wait, I've got some questions on this.
Okay.
Agenda item number 14.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I noticed that the SEH quote, again, far more detailed, more of a just a generic response, but they didn't mention anything about the boiler, but Venture did. So we just want to make sure that everybody's responding the same way. And then the others besides Venture, who obviously knows about the building, did they go to the building and have a tour and walk the building?
Yes.
And did
Yeah,
they give
Venture
it?
has already been there and done all that, yes.
And did they have access to the Venture building report?
Did SEH have access to the Venture report? Yes.
All right. Who's the third engineering firm?
JDR.
Okay.
JDR.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed one. Discussion possible action on the resolution relating to use and classification of county parks.
Mr. Chair, so I brought this up at mid last year. We were looking at how we're gonna take care of camping and stuff at the parks and how to set up getting proper fees set into place, who's gonna monitor it, so on and so forth. But it really came down to the fact that there is no one in place to monitor the parks besides a parks and trails technician. All he does is mow grass, of who's coming, going for the parks, how long they're there. We did find out we weren't in compliance with the state of Wisconsin on the location of the well and relative location to where the campers are tentatively parking. We are having people come in there and they're not paying the fee. Highway department, simply offered that as a place to come to get it, but we're only open Monday through Thursday during the summer months, and we still have people not coming. And then we also received a lot of complaints of where the campers were setting up to get access to the Rock Ridge Tunnel as a circumstance. The maintenance to the wells became a big thing. So this comes down to a point of there's just not enough funding to be able to continue to operate them as an actual campground. And it's put forward as turning them into a day use park only, operating hours being from sunrise to 10 p.m. And then people can still go there, but there's just not going to be the overnight camping anymore because there is no good way to monitor that and take care of it like it should and meet state compliance.
Isn't that the way it was originally, years ago? And then we changed it?
We always allowed camping. We did it without having to have people monitor it.
But
Well, I mean, we used Natural Bridge Store or something like that.
Natural Bridge Store.
Kiosk up, you know, you go up to Iron County, their parks, they have little people put it in.
And
I
I
like to bring tourism
I
in. Do you need to monitor, make sure you get every dollar out of them, or are you just glad that you're spending their money where you're getting your sales tax out of it?
I don't disagree with that, but we need to come up with, if we're gonna do that, we need to come up with a plan to get the kiosks set up and all that stuff. Cause I'm not against that, but what's it take to do that?
The whole thing was wanting to create the ordinance was if somebody was squatting there. That was the whole issue, is to be able to remove them. Because if we didn't have nothing in place and have this stuff, then we weren't able to enforce it. And that was the whole point of wanting to have all that stuff, was to enforce the squatting issue.
Agreed, because we had that.
But not to want to prohibit camping, bring people to want to come visit our area. Right now, we only have 2 campgrounds, I think, in this county.
A couple comments, please.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. Let's not forget Viola Park, guys. I know during the first weekend of different hunting seasons, guys come in there and camp. I see Boy Scouts in there on occasion, but I understand the problem, the concern. But I'm just wondering whether just to avoid a lot of blowback, we have an opportunity for public comment.
I would say, this one, we milled around it last year because we're trying to because the problem was that we were trying to do it exactly what Carrie said. Because we had someone embedded in there and then they were running power out of the box and everything else, and they weren't leaving, and I would like to see some more put in and see if we can figure out a way to make it. I like the kiosk thing. I think that's a thing of the future. And the problem is, we need some type of ordinance to take care of the person who never leaves, right? That's what we need to do. This will do that, right? But then it takes away from, like Steve brought up and what Carrie brought up, so. I'm not comfortable having going today at this point. That's my personal opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board is feeling on that, but I would like to see us go a different route and try to encourage people to come and stay and spend their money. And figure out how we can do that with cell phone's a pretty powerful tool. And the problem is you really don't have a good way to regulate and maintain. And the other problem is if they start turning into junk, where Josh has got to clean up a bunch of whoever has to go around there and clean up the garbage and all that. There's all different things that go along with that. Now you can have that with the day thing too.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna go away.
And we've already had that problem over the last couple of years of people leaving so much stuff behind and the amount of time and truckloads of stuff we brought back. And then a lot of other issues, driving out into the grass in the middle of the night, so popping up tents, and then I get a phone call, why are they there? Did they pay to be there? Time of year. And again, there's the other factor of water. If they're camping, you gotta provide them water. Well, if they have to have water, they have to be in 400 feet of the spigot. And there's the maintenance of those two, the water samples that have to be taken down to Madison. Viola, we struggled with last year, finally getting that in compliance at the end of the year, but the season was already over with. So, we have to look at investment into that property in order to allow the camping to take place and then setting up actual campsites, because to be within 400 feet now, the terrain doesn't allow you to set up campers. So, or camping in general.
You know, it seems like a lot of the issues that brought up was a thing that the Parks Commission handled in prior years.
Yeah, but I don't know that they handled it.
They did, because
They did.
we spent money to put in a well at Viola Park to allow that. We followed that cap saying that we needed to have water in order to be a licensed campground. The fairgrounds was a licensed campground. We followed all that. We took water samples from there, had them tested down in Madison also. And the same thing with Rockbridge Park. That's got a well.
But now it's where the lots can be. So we got water there and we can test the water, but again, the parks budget got cut and there's less and less money for these non-mandatory things. And I understand it's also providing something to the community, but how do we do it? How do we have a staff member that drives to Madison? I think it's once a week, correct? To get drop the water off and get it tested. How do we say, okay, these are the only places that people can go, and then what do we do when they park, when they set up a tent in another spot? So it's not just regulating to make sure people's paying, it's regulating to ensure that we are in compliance, that we're a campground, that we're in compliance of that campground. And who's gonna be the one to do it, and then if we're not,
And where do we get the money to invest into providing those amenities on top of that? Because we don't have the staff, we don't have the money current.
Question. I have a question.
Go ahead, Steve.
I mentioned some kind of chance for public forum or whatever, but what if in that we considered whether we want to have an arrangement with, say, one of the service organizations to adopt these parks and fill in where we can't do it?
I don't think we have enough to go forward with this right now. I think we should table it to come up with a better plan. I think we need more input from different, because, there's certain things that run through my head. Well, there's resources in the county. How do we optimize how we use the resources we have? And if we even do have enough resources to do what we need to do. I think Richland County, this is probably one of those things where you start looking at the county needs to grow. And is this a small part of the growth? It may sound simple, but the county is going in the wrong direction as far as growth. And does this equal growth? And I'm the wrong person to be talking about it, because
I would
don't
suggest that we get with Marty Richards and see what kind of help he might drum up. Trout Unlimited or other organizations like that might be interested.
I would agree. I think we need to reach out to somebody that's more on the economic development part of it and see what it equals. And then see as a board if we're willing to put the effort and the time and the money and everything else into it, figure out what we can do. Anybody else?
Agreed. To me, I think we're stepping backwards. We're not promoting growth. But it also takes time, somebody's time. I worked at Eagle Cave as a kid. It's a lot of work. Kiosk work in places. You can, I don't know if that means fencing to keep people out of the area you don't want them. Well, there's another added expense, so it takes you a year or two to recover your fencing expense, just in whatever we charge at the campground, but I'm sure you could set up with a Venmo there.
Hey, I was wondering if Josh could send us the info that helps us understand the rules from the state to know all these spacing and requirements that we would have to meet.
I could send you a link to the state's website probably, yeah.
Stat cap.
Thanks.
Dad cap under
Yeah.
campgrounds, right? Because there's
Yeah, to be dispersed camping, you need to be 200 feet off the roadway. Looking at Iowa, and that didn't count, so that's why you need to put in well there would be a licensed campground. That people camp there legally. Be able to remove them if they squat. So
Was a rock where you could
Camp on the backside.
camp on the backside of the rock, and that's where everybody wants to be.
DAC cap told us we couldn't have them camp on the backside because of the water access, and then we talked about tent only, but then it came down to being in the relative location of County Road D.
And it's all in the slope. All right, so there's more work to do on that. So let's, for a future agenda item, I think we need to try to figure out, get a hold of Marty, get a hold of some people and see if we can get some feedback on what, okay, is what's possible, right? I don't think we're really clear on what's possible right now. We know what it costs. We know what we're trying to do to manage within our, everything is managing within our budget, right? That's what we always come back to. It's the same thing, it's the same story. But this could be an opportunity to do something and still, maybe at some point, increase the budget. I don't know. We gotta figure out something to. So we keep, all we talk about is taking stuff away. We gotta quit thinking that. We gotta start thinking different.
So what would be the direction between now and when we could try to develop a plan utilizing economic development? Because, I mean, we just gonna allow them to camp with no reins on them, or, I'm just asking because
What did we do last year?
highway department volunteered the time, open Monday through Thursday, stop by, get a camping permit, but that's, I mean, the highway department's not getting anything for it, it's stopping our staff's time. That was, and then,
Let's talk about administrative fees being waived.
I realize it, but let's try to get some information. If we need to go, we gotta get some information. And I think I agree that Marty Richards is a great place to start because he can tell pretty relatively quick what your options are, I would think. So we need to get a meeting with Marty and see if he can present something and then go from there. In the short term, I would suggest we keep it the way we did it last year. And hopefully we can come up with something before we get into full swing.
So can I talk to Steve? So I just pulled it up here on my phone because I talked with DADCAP, Department of Agricultural Consumer and Protection. It's chapter 79 relates to campgrounds. I talked to this Ellen and we had an in-depth conversation about, toilets, 400 feet of water. You need to have at least one toilet. Talk about a county park, having up to at least 3 individual campsites if you don't advertise them in any way. Talk about permit fees, a bunch of stuff that we've been through in the past.
Well, let's get it all together and go
So
through it.
Steve, is chapter 79 of the debt cap,
All right, I'll go look.
ATCP 79.
All right, so the future agenda item is get a hold of Marty Richards is one for sure. Anybody got any other future agenda items?
Mr. Chair, this is what I have for your meeting, just from listening, volunteer opportunities for county parks. Did you want something on there about trail maintenance responsibility and looking into that more or no?
Yeah, I think we should look into it and see if there's some way we can help out with that. That would relieve some of the duties. It could.
Volunteerism, is that what
Volunteer.
Trail maintenance.
And what's the repercussions of volunteers?
Right.
Friends groups and legal,
Right.
legal justification or whatever you want to hear from our corporate counsel as far as. Okay.
Also, the resolution related to the use and classification of county parks, which is what you're talking about right now.
And
Those are the 3 things I have.
most stuff. And I think we need to meet next month so we can keep ahead of this.
Okay.
So that we can try to get somewhere. So Josh doesn't have to collect tickets, so. All right, any correspondence?
Under reports.
Motion to adjourn to next month. Thank you, Chad. Thank you for your service. Steve, second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. We are adjourned.